Okay.
Warming up.
Had trouble figuring out the lighting. Sorry for the delay.
Whew. So we're just manually resharing our link. This production is literally just the two of us, so we don't have crew or staff to help prep the show, share the links, and all that jazz.
Staff would be interesting. It would be nice to have staff, but we have many needs for staff. He
Well,
has to do post production. He has to be able to give massages, maybe cook sometimes. Isayin na natin, di ba? Let's not have too many people here, social distancing. But if we do get a person, he'll both
can
be help for the show,
cook, clean, drive, wash,
massage.
massage.
Doesn't need to wash.
That's true.
That's okay.
We
Stay
prefer
away.
to wash.
Stay away from my laundry. Stay away from our dishes. That is not your territory.
If you are watching this in the future, then you are watching a pre-recorded live stream. Feel free to jump forward in time to when the show has officially started. If you're watching right now, or if you're watching in the future and you just are amused that we're bantering, feel free to watch until we start the show.
Oh, I'm sorry. I realized I didn't plug this specific episode today. I was so busy.
Yeah, there's all these light reflections on my glasses today. I did not fix the lights right.
Okay.
Sharing it to my news feed.
And the group? I don't think you shared
Yeah,
to the group yet.
I did.
Okay. Excuse me. But yeah, it's Monday, so we're talking about board games.
Switching glasses. Everything's within the bubble of blurriness, which works better with my reading glasses.
Bubble of blueness. Okay. Links posted to my Twitter feed.
Excuse me.
Oh yeah, I was gonna look up shipwrecks.
Okay, links have been shared.
Oh, shipwrecks is a card drafting game.
Mm.
How fascinating! We've never played shipwrecks. I've only seen it on occasion. There was always that confusion about what games do we need to get for this series.
Hey Mitch, hey Mai. Nice to have you with
Wow,
us.
hello.
And me, I'm having that. Oh, um,
Andre's on YouTube. Hello.
the artist is someone I have on my Facebook.
Oh, subtle flex of Toby's connections to the industry
No, no, no. It's just probably added because of Meeple Circle.
in the industry.
No.
It all started with Jim Pinto and Dominare
That's true.
because we are the Dominare fan club.
Yeah, see?
Ah, I see. Yeah, yeah. Toby's showing me that they're friends. All right, that's cool. I
Yeah, he's the
guess.
one who shared the Shadows of Middle Earth. That's it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Ah,
Okay. Andre's multitasking work. Sure.
should have recognized it sooner.
Are those boxes graphics are real? They're real. We still do not have advanced
Editing.
post production support. So everything is done live. Thank you.
Yeah, it does look like it's cropped in because of the black,
Yeah, the in
the
this.
black frame panel. Okay, I
Hey,
guess we
cool.
can start.
Yeah, we'll get the credits rolling. Let me hide the reminder about live stream. We'll see you in a bit.
Oh yeah! Really right!
To do the screen.
Hey everyone, this is
And it's
Toby.
Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride. Sorry, I'm sorry. Welcome to Baduy Pride, our little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
Toby's knees hitting me. It's completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us if we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again.
And Toby's very ticklish knee, apparently.
I'm so sorry. Okay. It's a Tuesday, and every Tuesday we try to talk about games. Today's game is one of the worker placement games that I can't remember how we got into this.
So someone lent you this copy.
Yeah, I think it was Steady.
Was it?
Or
Were
was
we
it someone else?
I don't think we were, because this is already in the BGC era of our life. We weren't talking to Teddy at that point. I mean, like, he's busy, so who lent us the game? I don't remember. Was it? But it wasn't Sina Josh, no.
It's Raiders of the North Sea.
Oh no, I can see the lid is not aligned with the back. All right, but yes, it's Raiders of the North Sea. So Raiders of the North Sea. It's easy to confuse this game because they've gotten very successful and they've made a lot of games about this period of
Mhm.
time. So this is not to be confused with the other sort of major line of games they have now, which is Architects of the West Kingdom, if I'm not mistaken,
Mhm.
or all these games of the West Kingdom. So we have Raiders of the North Sea. So, quick background: Raiders of the North Sea was designed by Shem Phillips, an artist. Pronounce that name, Toby.
No, I can't.
Okay, and then published by Garphill Games in New Zealand. And this is fascinating. I will actually read the one paragraph description of Garfield Games
Mhm.
in Board Game Geek because it's amazing. Okay, they were established in 2009 by New Zealand designer Shem Phillips. For the first 5 years, they designed a number of family-style games with very low print runs, which primarily sold across New Zealand. And then in 2014, they launched their first ever Kickstarter campaign. This is for the biggest game yet, Shipwrights of the North Sea. The game gained a lot of interest and helped push Garfield onto the global scene. A year later, they followed up with the highly rated sequel, Raiders of the North Sea, and since then, they continue to release quality games every year. So it's kind of bonkers.
Mhm.
And I only really thought about them being in um in the North Sea, being in New Zealand because they have a Kickstarter that is closing this week.
Mhm.
And then I saw the prices and like, what? New Zealand dollars? It's like I've never seen something in New Zealand
The
prices.
Kickstarter is specifically what?
And that's what I'm trying to bring up. I have to go back to games and loading Kickstarter. I didn't back it. I almost did this morning because or yesterday because I was like,
Mhm.
this looks interesting. No, it shouldn't be in fresh. It should be in home stretch. There it is. There is a Kickstarter for Viscount's Gates of Gold and Viscount's
Viscount,
Keep.
right? Is it
Oh, Viscounts,
I think
yeah.
so. Yeah.
Keeper of the Keys. Oh, it's
Mhm.
Viscounts of the West Kingdom.
Yes.
It is in its last 59 hours. In case you are wondering.
And we were tempted, but we probably won't. And I stress probably with let's not. Um, we were tempted to get the what was it? What was that tier?
There is a tier. There's a king tier, which will help you get all the West Kingdom games, which we have none of,
Including the Kickstarter exclusives.
including the Kickstarter
But it's around
exclusives.
500 plus New Zealand dollars,
600 really,
which is around 20.
1,000 pesos.
Yes. So no, we're not.
But it includes Gates of Gold, Keeper of
we're
the
not
Keys,
gonna do that.
Viscount's Collector's Box, Viscounts of the West Kingdom, Age of Artisans, Works of Wonder, Architects Collector's Box, Architects Playmat, Architects of the West Kingdom, including Kickstarter promos, City of Crowns, Paladins Collector's Box, Paladins of the West Kingdom, including 2019 Kickstarter promos, the West Kingdom Tome Saga, including 2020 Kickstarter promos and 50 metal coins.
So let's go back to Raiders of the North Sea because we will probably not be able to get Viscounts. Raiders of the North Sea is a game that is based in a medieval period. It utilizes different game mechanics such as dice rolling, hand management, worker placement, different worker types, and this is interesting. It says contracts. I'm not sure what they mean by contracts.
Is that just deals or the
Players,
rewards?
okay, players
Ah!
fulfill contracts to earn rewards.
Yeah, because the blessing
Okay.
thing at
Yeah.
the chieftain's
Yeah.
house. Okay.
So
Okay.
and contracts. The worker placement aspect was admittedly the draw that got us interested. And-
Because we're a sucker for worker placement games.
but the way the game uses it or approaches it was what made it fascinating.
It made it so weird, but like a good weird, because it was you place a worker, but you take something too.
Yes.
And not a reward, but another worker, and then suddenly you're juggling workers, and how that plays out is amazing.
So the game comes with different tiles, different tokens. The tokens range from the different possible resources you can get in the game. We shall display them in a bit. Since we got this through the secondhand market, we were able to get it with other little details as well as all the other expansions. But we don't need to elaborate on that. We have the manual,
Careful, all the manuals are in
Yep.
here.
and then we have the
Cards.
character cards. This one, of course, combines it with all the others as well. Characters are beautifully illustrated by my friend whose name I am struggling to pronounce, but all follow the basic format. More cards and tokens, and the board is not in this box because these are the expansion boards.
See?
Yes,
Think we squeezed into another box?
I
Okay.
think you combine them to two.
Because it was the way they were set up. Okay, when I opened it, so I worked with their storage solution. Okay.
See, we even got the bonus card. But yeah, here is the map. Okay. Let's open the map. I'm always worried about opening it wrong and ruining
Whenever it's like the 6-panel ones with the
it.
with the alternating folds, yeah, I always get stressed about games like that.
All right. Okay, we'll have to bring down that cardboard. It's a big map. It's a vertical map. While most board games go for long horizontal maps, this one went for a vertical map with good reason.
It really gives you that sense of traveling north.
And it's part of the design. The lower part of the map represents your, I guess you could say, your village or your area where you start in.
Mhm.
But then as you progress further up, you see the different outposts and harbors. You can then start raiding.
Because you're Vikings,
you-
it's all about raiding.
You could see later the outposts and monasteries. And then much later at the top, you will see the different fortresses that you can attack. Each of these are the worker spaces in the game, but you will notice that there are already all these symbols on the board because they aren't worker spaces in like most games where you just go there to get resources. In this game, some, like the ones in the village, are all about preparation.
Oh, Nicanor
whereas-
is here. Hello.
Whereas others, all the other upper ones, are all about raiding, where you pay certain resources and meet certain requirements, then test your luck with dice rolls to see if you can get the bigger rewards. Where do you want to go next?
So
Because this is a big game.
it's always hard to figure out because we're gonna try to condense the rules a bit. The core mechanic, which is always which is brilliant and messes you up at the same
Okay,
time,
I get it.
is that
Workers.
every turn you will do two things. You will place your worker,
Mhm,
and then you will activate the space that you have placed him on,
mhm.
whether it is to get resources or cards or to
Mhm.
raid. And then you will take a worker. If it's in the village, you'll take it from another friendly space. If it's raiding, it is part of the rewards you will get. When it's in the home area, you take that action as well. So those are your two actions in the turn.
Mhm.
But then on the raiding spot, it's just a big reward. And that struggle of taking a placing and taking is confounded by the fact that there are three colors of these little warrior guys, and certain spaces are restricted based on color. So, like for example, pillaging harbors over here, you can use black or gray warriors to enter that space. But if you were going, for example, to the longhouse, it needs a white
Or agree.
or gray worker.
Mhm.
So you're mapping. So you're taking an action that you want to take, but then you're also mapping out what is the worker you're going to end up with,
Because
because that affects your
moves.
next action.
Yes.
So it forces you as a game to constantly plan your next 2 to 3 moves,
Mm.
because if not, you're gonna get locked up into into a weird sequence. And then because it is still a worker placement game, it is still very likely that someone will take the space that you want to do, or will
Yes.
take the person you wanted to pick up, and thus denying you an action.
These persons also affect the game because the place they go to may have different effects depending on the worker you use.
Oh yes.
For example, here in the silversmith, the black worker, which is what everyone starts with, is obviously the lowest one in the hierarchy of, I guess you could say, power.
Hmm.
But because he's the lowest one as the worker, he earns the most money. Using the gray or the white ones earn you less money. On the flip side, the mill, the black worker would only give you one food resource. However, the gray and the white ones give you two, with the white one even allowing you the option to get gold instead. So all these little maneuverings make the game already super interesting for those already used to a worker placement game.
Yeah, and so just this part of the board alone will give you so many things to do, and will confound you as people step on your moves. And like, you can map out like, okay, I'll place my person here and I'll pick up the guy who's still standing at the armory, but then on Toby's turn he decides to do something else entirely and picks up the guy at the armory. So now I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, but if I still do this, do I still need to go to the armory because now I don't have the resource? It's fun. It's
Mhm.
that, and that's the fun. A big part of the fun of the game. And then later on, it's really just trying to aim for the raiding options.
If you look at the raiding options, some raiding locations require black or gray tokens. Others in the upper levels can only allow you white and gray tokens. And even further up, only white tokens are allowed. So sometimes you will find yourself wanting to rush to the gray or the white tokens because you're thinking of hitting the higher spots. But then you might want to find a way to switch back to a black one in hopes of hitting the lower spots or
Getting more
maximizing and
resources.
capitalizing certain benefits. So it's a nice balance. It's a nice dance of finding when you're willing to risk letting go of the white guy somewhere for now to grab the black guy in hopes that guy's still there later when you do your next move.
Yeah, because of this core mechanic, then you can have cases where maybe you're playing it safe and you're only raiding the harbors, and then maybe Toby goes up and like gets a monastery, and the reward is a white person. But then when Toby now takes actions in the village, he has to let go of that white resource, and someone could take up that worker without having gone north.
Mhm.
So it's a brilliant little puzzle that I like.
But it's also a good way to tempt others to open up what you wanted for real.
Hmm. Unless it's just me and Toby playing, then we just step on each other's toes all the time.
Now, if you look at the raiding spaces, they all have this weird window shape. And they have a figure of, in this case, the white person, in this case, a gray person. These are where you see the different. I forgot the term. What was the word? When you raid, you get blank. It's not bounty. It's
Stuff.
what was the term? There was a word for it. It's not loot. Ah.
It's not pillaging because that's an action. It's not a noun.
Anyway, and that's where the other tokens come in, all in this bag. And the reason they're in the bag during setup, you actually draw and place in these windows that reward randomly.
Hmm.
And they range from black skulls. Oh, I'm not sure about visibility. Let me move it back.
A very, very complex video
Yeah.
setup. Okay, don't do that. As Toby continues, there's
Yeah.
gold. That's like the yellow thing, and then you have your ore, and then you and then this is always funny to me. It's cows.
Okay, I may have dropped it to the floor.
Oh,
So
we'll
try to
have to
look for it
double check
later.
later. But it's a cow head because it's food, but it's a cow. It's
Hmm.
like
Expansions later add these blue shields, so we're not using them for now.
yeah.
But with these four different options that you gain from the places where you raid, you can then bring them to the longhouse to trade them for those reward tokens that give you points at the end, or spend them in different areas in the village for certain benefits. The armory, for example, accepts ore or accepts coins to increase your armor level. And the armor level is very important because it adds to the strength of your raiding party. Strength is important because almost all the locations further up take note of your group's strength plus one or two dice rolls depending on the location. The resulting roll is checked with a small display on the side, and that tells you the corresponding victory points you will get. So, what does that mean? If you rush to the upper parts but you don't build your army strong first, you might actually open up the upper parts but not even get points.
Yeah, so each raiding spot is a one-time deal. If
Mm.
you fail the raid, quote unquote, you don't get to try it again, or like the resources don't, stay there. You just lose the opportunity entirely,
Mm-mm.
and that's well, at least you lose the points. You get the
You get
you
the
get the resources,
yeah.
but you don't get the points that you need. And resources don't necessarily get you as many points in the game. Uh, Points get you points in the game, and so you
Mhm.
still want to get those and maximize that potential.
Plunder. That's
Plunder.
the
There you
word.
go.
The
There
plunder.
you go. Okay. Mitch mentions the game reminds her of the village, and very much so because death is very important in this game. Similar to the village, yeah, you would want to strategically kill your characters at the right time. Because these are Viking heroes, uh,
Death is not a bad thing.
it's not a bad thing because then the Valkyries will come and swoop you up,
So
and these also have a scoring track for rewards.
yeah. So if we look here on the side of the board, we see these red scoring tracks, and then we see a black scoring track here on the side.
So the red is armor, the black is Valkyrie.
You will notice that there are golden flags beside the number. So here at armor level 3, you get a point. At armor level 6, you get 4 points. At armor level 9,
You
you
get
get
six,
6.
and those aren't they don't stack.
Yeah.
It's like if you cross this threshold, you get two. You cross
And
threshold,
then
you get four.
likewise, for deaths, if you have people who die during the raids, having two people died gives you points, then three gives you points, four gives you points, five gives you points.
And it's they don't die when you fail the die roll. You die when you pick up skulls.
Yes.
Because Valkyrie. So it's a funny little economy and trying to juggle the back and forth
Mhm.
and when you want to kill characters at the right time
and,
because
and choosing which ones you can kill.
yeah. And then what we also haven't highlighted, which makes it way more than just a worker placement game, is that because of the you are building a little raiding party, which is dictated
Found
by
it.
cards, and then the size of your raiding party also determines which spaces you can go to. Because, like for example, these fortresses, it'll indicate the minimum size of your army, which is typically like here they require 5 cards.
Mhm. This one
Um,
requires 4. This one requires 5. But then beyond that, there sometimes are other requirements. In this case, you
Gold and
must have
food.
1 gold and 4 food. Here it's 2 gold and 2 food, and there it's 2 gold and 3 food.
Yeah, so you have to build up resources for different things, and if you want to go raiding, then you need to also build up an army,
Mhm.
but an army of a significant number of cards and so many things.
So let's talk about the cards.
Card. So the cards that represent your warriors are not all combat oriented. Of course
Yeah.
they're not, because the game needs to give you hard choices.
So you
So
can use some examples.
yeah, so it's interesting that cards are they either become part of your raiding party or
They're in your hand.
and you can play them for one-time actions. So
Card anatomy.
yeah, so you have with this strength of the card in the red flag. The coins represent the cost of the card when you're gonna hire them, and then the left side represents their benefit. Sorry, yeah, left side, the black card, black thing represents their benefit in battle, in raiding. So like for the mercenary, for example, if he's killed in a raid, you get a point because hey, you paid for it. And then on the right side is the action if you were to go to the what space was that
Town
again?
hall.
The town hall and just play the card for its active
Mm.
benefits. You can just you can discard it. Then you get the one time effect. For example, this one, all players now must give you one silver or one provision. So
Some
that's quite clever.
some cards offer you mechanics that help raiding become better. There are cards that make it cheaper to attack the outposts or the monasteries. There are cards that allow you to reroll the dice to make sure you have a chance at rolling higher. There are cards that give you victory points based on having certain things at the end of the game. And then you have some of the stranger cards which allow you a little bit of tactics. There's the Gravedigger who, when they die, you actually earn gold. So you might want to have them early on so you can sacrifice them during your raids.
Berserker is one of my favorites because when he dies, he doesn't go to the discard pile. He goes back to your hand.
And that allows you to play him again, but still get the benefits of the
Yeah,
Valkyrie.
which is like because you don't have regular card draw, you have to go to a space to draw more cards. And it's one way to like always have a warrior that you can place, and yet you're progressing your Valkyrie track.
The Brawler gives the dice benefit. The Barbarian gives strength when raiding fortresses. Um, the Huntsman gives cheapens your provision cost when you're raiding. But then you also have champions. The different champion cards are all expensive. They all are strong with a strength of at least four. They all tend to have victory point related powers. For example, the champion gains three victory points at the end of the game. There's another one whose strength is based on the number of other existing
Mm.
characters in your group. Um, so finding which one you'll use, deciding which champions you'll play, knowing that you're building these people and knowing some of them may have to die if you choose certain places again adds another level of awesomeness to the game and its tactics.
So it takes a bit of time to kind of wrap your head around the game.
Mhm.
I think the first few times it was really like it was just this weird like what I put a thing and then I put down a thing,
Mhm.
and many in the beginning you'll have a lot of players who will want to take a piece from the board first and
Mm.
put down next, but nope, that's not the sequence. It's place and then take.
Yeah.
Um, and but once you get into it, it has a beautiful rhythm to it. A nice little ebb and flow, and whether you're just busying yourself in the village or you're raiding, there's just so many things to juggle, and uh but then your only really big scoring things are the armor track, the Valkyrie track, and the additional rewards you get when raiding.
And
um
the blessings.
or you can just fulfill blessing, which is like the contract
These
thing.
cards are available in the town hall section of the game. When you visit, you can see the selection of options. You pay the resources of one of them to keep it. They have a point value at the end of the game, but you keep them face down. So you keep your opponents guessing unless you're like Rocky, who paid attention and keeps a mental note of the points
I
the other
don't
players
track everyone's points.
just mine.
Not even. I may factor it in somewhat, or at least I don't memorize them, but I note when Toby gets them, and then oh, that's 4 points. And then I'll think about it. But everybody does that, right? So okay, so
Finally, the game comes with small scoring cards, which are no,
they represent
small
your
tips,
ships.
small end game point guides, which have a scoring tip counter in the top that helps you track if you've hit 50 points or
And you
higher.
can cross 50 points.
Because the board itself allows you to track points um, from that side, around, down, down, down.
See, Nicanor's like, yeah, Toby, everybody does that.
There.
See, I'm not alone.
Mhm. But in our games, it's not often people will go beyond 50 points unless they're used to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Although I think like when we played with FGTC, points got very high in that time. But I think also because Mitch was familiar and the like. So very, very cool.
Finally, because we did skip it earlier, now that you have a better idea of what to expect in the game, Let's talk about the village and its different moves.
Let's talk about the village, but not the village. That's a different episode.
Okay, you can do it because I have to
Oh,
hold it.
okay. So, wait. I need to. That's the name of this spot again. So the gatehouse, it lets you play up to. Sorry, it lets you draw two cards. It has the plus symbol. The town hall lets you play a card. Hence, it's the play symbol and the blue card. The treasury, you can trash one card, so you remove from your hand entirely, and you get two coins, or you trash two and you get gold.
Mm.
The armory is you spend ore for two steps on the armor track, or you spend two coins for one step on the armor track. Not as fun. The barracks lets you hire a card from your hand. The mill is where you get provisions. So either the black gets one, the gray gets two, the white can get two provisions or one gold. The longhouse, you can convert the cow into two provisions, and you know what that means: burgers for everyone. Or you could also claim a blessing by paying the required cost. And lastly, the silversmith generates either three coins for black workers or two coins for white or gray workers. And with that alone, and it sounds like, oh, there's a lot of options, but take note that in a four-player game, there are going to be four of these spaces occupied because of player
Mm.
tokens, and
And some spaces aren't even visitable until you have white.
until you have the right thing. So sometimes you'll end up repeating actions you didn't want to repeat because there was no other option, but that's okay.
The game comes with two red dice. The red dice are
Modified
are
D6s.
six-sided dice that do not have all the numbers, but they are what's used to find out the strength. And you also have heavy non-metal. Well, they don't feel like metal coins. They're
No, they're
they're metal,
metal.
but they don't. How do we put it? They're not like most metal coins which we've seen. They actually feel old and plated, and
They're not magnetic,
yeah, right.
so it's probably like aluminum or something, but then nicely coated, or I don't
Mm.
know, pewter or
So they
something.
kind of do feel like old period
Coins
coins of that
appropriate to the
era.
game.
Yeah.
Okay, Mitch is asking, is it good even with two players? We have discovered, yes, it still works. It's still tight, um, and I may not be Toby
Here's the cover
here.
because I realized we haven't done a thumbnail.
Okay, we're gonna do a thumbnail, guys. Where's Toby? Okay, I don't know. Although this is also my face when I squeeze Toby's knee. Okay,
Okay.
um, and that's just the base game.
Yes.
Okay, Raiders of the North Sea has actually three different expansiony things. We do not have one of them. The first that came out was actually was this Raiders of the North Sea Rune shucks, what's it called again? Rune Saga, which is essentially a mini campaign to be played with Raiders of the North Sea.
Should have gotten it when I saw it in the auction.
It's okay. It will come out again. No pressure. So that adds a whole other layer to the game, if in case you're
Mhm.
curious about it. So we also, but we do have, because of the secondary market, we have, which one came first? I think it was Fields of Fame. Or, well, there's Fields of Fame, that's one, um, which gives components for an extra player beyond four, and
Mhm.
then a new township board, enemy Jarl tokens, cards, fame, damage, and a variety of new townsfolk. And then there's Hall of Heroes, which also includes those components for an extra player, but it has a new Mead Hall board, large player boards, Mead, quests, reputation, and new townsfolk. So that's cool.
Mhm.
Um, Oh, Nicolas like what? There are three. I only have two. Yeah, including Rune Saga. So at least that's the North Sea side of things.
The game
Admittedly,
also
oh,
integrates with a few other games. There's
mm,
Explorers of the North Sea and Shipwrights of the North Sea. And then there is a re-implementation of the game, which is Raiders of Scythia,
Scythia.
which I kept hearing about Raiders of Scythia before from people about how, oh, it sort of did a more interesting deck builder style game and this and that. I didn't realize they were talking about this game.
What surprises me still is that Shipwrights of the North Sea was the first game in this series, and it is a card game. It is not a worker placement game. How this game group, this game designer, managed to continue to iterate and innovate on this theme to end up with this still amazes me. Um, we indirectly resisted getting copies of this game for a while, because it felt like a Laucat problem. And when I say a Laucat problem, it's like, damn it, if we get one game, we're
We'll
gonna have to
start.
get all games in this series. And that's sort of what happened here. That we had played our the first time we played was a borrowed copy, and then eventually Toby found at least this core three games in
Yeah,
one.
someone was selling all these three. Plus, well, there was a fourth mini expansion.
Was that the solo variant? I know it's something else. It's the pro. There are lots of promo cards in this
Yeah.
thing. We haven't. I've somewhat documented all the promos we now have. It includes I think just one set really. Because to be fair, each card in itself is like a promo set. But
Mhm.
and I can't see what they are because I'm not logged into BGG. So let me do that now. While we're talking. Okay.
So general thoughts. So the game's more complicated than Lords of Waterdeep.
Oh yes.
If you are a
For
fan,
sure.
if you're a fan of Lords of Waterdeep, then consider having multiple lords that you can activate when you need their power, or you need to use them to fulfill your quests. Then add the element of certain spaces in the Lords of Waterdeep board only being visitable if you have the right units, not necessarily just the components. And that would be closer to this than it already is.
So clearly, Lords of Waterdeep is not a good comparison because there's a lot of stuff you got to add on to come up with this game, and that's not a bad thing. And but it's a good step up. Like if you like if you like the worker placement aspect of Lords of Waterdeep, then this is definitely something to kind of step up to
Mhm.
in terms of complexity.
Mhm.
The theming is beautiful. I mean, we love Vikings as a concept. I can't speak to historical accuracy in this regard, but it's very very cool. The way that they are depicted here, the art is beautiful. It's very very distinct.
Okay, so of course, Meganor comment. No, it's simpler than Lords. No, Lords is so simple compared to this.
Yeah, because Lords is still essentially
But but
place get.
Lords does allow more strategy because of the intrigue cards.
Yeah. See, so there. Okay, we have the Outsiders, which is 2018 promo. We have the Meeple Man promo card. Um, and is that it? Yeah, and that's at least that's the promo stuff we have. There's so many more. It's kind of bonkering. Hence that other Viscounts thing being so expensive because there's so many little promos. Anyway, but I no, I really appreciate the styling around this. Um, it's daunting. I will admit it's daunting because I think in the first game we played, you will definitely, which is like a common board game problem, right? A modern board game problem where you don't quite know what you're doing. It's like, what am I aiming for? What am I trying to do? Because you can just kind of gather resources, but then like I don't know. So I guess in segueing into tips, I'd be like, what's this? Try to raid. So if you want to raid, work backwards. What do I need to raid? If I need to raid, I need a raiding party of a certain number of cards. How do I have a raiding party of those many cards? I need to play them at the barracks. How do I play them at the barracks? I need coins. How do I get coins? Probably the silversmith. And that's like your initial loop. It's like collecting money, hiring people. And then I also need provisions to hit some of the rating spots. How do I get provisions? And so that's like my begin in the beginning. If you don't know what you're aiming for, try to raid. So once you figure out how to raid, because it is sort of the name of the game, it will all kind of fall into place. And then beyond that, you don't have to be super aggressive. Like, I mean, you can. It's personally, I'll be always like, I want to hit the fortresses, but there's nothing wrong with like I'll raid and just get blessings because they're points. So
Other smaller systems that we didn't really cover include there is a cap on how much resources you can stock and keep with you.
mm,
So you can't, for example, just keep earning money because once you hit a certain point, you
It
have to throw away the excess. Same with all the other resources that you gather. So it becomes then a nicer small mechanic of challenging you when to cash certain things in before others stop you from doing so. You might have accumulated a lot of cattle and gold, for example, but then if the other player grabs those blessings in the longhouse and now all the longhouse wants is money or ore, then you suddenly found yourself with an excess of things that are worth, well, still a few bonus points at the end of the game, but not as much if you had spent them in the longhouse.
Toby sneaks into the longhouse a lot, and then I'm left with like really terrible blessings. And then he can clearly see what resources I have in front of me. But no, he's gonna get the cow thing.
I will, of course, get the count.
So I raid. When in doubt, I will just push north and raid.
Nick shares, Lords is round based, while this is turn based. So you need to explain one turn here, but in Lords you have to explain turns and rounds. Ah, okay, I see what you mean.
Well, the Waterdeep Harbor mechanic is it's really, which is like the core flavor of the game. Kind of adds a nice
Mhm.
twist, and then it adds extra turns for some
Yeah.
people. That's where it kind of has fun. Um, yeah, the core mechanic I think is for here is like not, it's pretty straightforward,
Mm.
but yeah, just try. But the in our experience when we're teaching it to help the player kind of intuit what they're supposed to do, it takes a while.
Yes.
It takes a while.
I guess for me, it felt like Lords was more straightforward. You do this, this happens.
Yes.
Whereas for this game, it's you do this because you want to plan for that, and when you're planning for that, you have to anticipate this.
And like you do this, oh, but then is this black or gray? And then it kind of changes what you did. And then-
And it has that. So keep in mind, if you did this, you're now letting others use that, and so that's why I feel this has a bit more complication. Whereas Lords, while still complex and deep,
the core
Um,
worker placement like purity is there in the
Yeah.
sense that I do the action, nobody else is gonna do the action this turn, this round.
unless certain rules say otherwise, but that's the core mechanic.
Darn you, magicians! It's always just like wow. Okay,
Return the agent. You
Oh,
can join the agent.
the time travel experiment and all these things. Yeah. Also, all a lot of fun.
Okay, I don't know why, but now my video keeps freezing and I have a community standards display. Nick, or what have you triggered? Anyway.
Don't blame him.
Maybe Facebook's like, those two shouldn't be talking about that.
Mm.
Okay, what else? The expansions offer different little rules. One offers a fifth player, the other one, and a few other encounters and the like. We haven't gotten around to exploring them, admittedly.
The pandemic is not a great time to explore games with 5 players.
But at the same time, this is one of the few games where the art has been consistent, and there is a joy in seeing the art grow with the game. Admittedly, for example, I was a bit disappointed when artists changed in Dixit.
Oh yeah.
Not
I mean,
that the other art was bad,
but you could feel the change.
yeah, and
When you go through like the first 4 expansions and then starting the fifth, it was
Yeah.
like, oh,
and it was sort of sad that you were used to this art style, and then it's different art styles. So I know it's more a personal thing than
Yeah,
anything, but I like it when a game maintains its branding.
so good job, Mihajlo Dimitrevsky. I'm sorry, I mispronounced your
See,
name.
I don't want to risk it.
And I super love the fact that he also contributed cards to Pret-a-Porter.
Yes.
So there's a line of fashion in Pret-a-Porter that follows the Raiders art. It's beautiful. It's quite beautiful. Um, and then what else? I mean, like, okay. In all fairness, if you just have the base game, it's not a bad thing. The base game is very solid. The other expansions, more or less, like they are the expansions that add a bit more complexity, a bit more variety. But the core game experience is just super solid. That
Mhm.
if you only want to, you're okay with, like, you play Raiders of the North Sea and you're okay, and you don't need additional challenge. You don't want to add more headache. You can live with that. It's a very solid experience.
If you're curious of trying the game, it does exist as an app that you can purchase and play.
Yes,
The app has a nice campaign mode that challenges you to fulfill each game session with a certain mission in mind. It has an ongoing against AI mode wherein you hit certain achievements like collect this number of gold in this session or raid this number of times in the session or have this number of people die in this session. So it still nicely gives you alternative ways to feel you're
It
challenging
is
yourself while playing.
it is a good native, sorry, native, but or a core game implementation. So it's definitely one of the nicer digital games we've seen, digital adaptations. Yeah. A completist for this series though will drive you nuts because they have a lot of promo cards that are that fetch very generous prices on the secondary market. And when I say generous, I mean like they are highly valued. So good luck.
And then if you like the world, um, isn't there the RPG based in this game?
There is also an RPG. Didn't you support that?
I think I did.
Why are you asking when you know you did? You have the book. Yeah, North Sea Epilogues. There is an official tabletop RPG.
Yes, I
Um,
wrote for this.
yeah.
I think I wrote a single scenario for this.
So, do you remember the core mechanic of this one? You'll have to check.
I haven't run it.
Yeah. Ooh, something you can run for your 12.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then of course, because this publisher is committed to releasing new stuff every year, then you can look forward to their other games. So we did mention earlier that there's the West Kingdom line of games, which is like Viscount, Architects, and Paladins. So that's another option for stuff to explore.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you have about 50 hours to get in the
Mhm.
Kickstarter if you want to get the most recent expansions, or go all in and get the collector's edition with
There's
everything in
also
it.
the Valeria line of games, from Quests of Valeria to the Card Kingdoms, and on and so forth.
That's the artist. You're
Yeah.
looking at the
Oh
artist
yeah.
background.
Sorry. Oh, yeah, I was thinking of the art.
For Garfield Games, across, I mean, like majority of their stuff is West Kingdom and North Sea. And then you're curious. I want to kind of dig into their family games one game, but then again, they're small print runs mostly in New Zealand. What other worker placement games would you compare this to, if ever, other than Lords? Oh man, we've played a lot of worker placement.
I'm trying to think of other worker placement games with unique worker requirements. The closest I could think of is the Duke de Courcy.
Because of the color controlled
Yeah, so you can
placement.
only use the green one in this spot. You can only use that one in that spot. Um, is there anything else that had? I'm trying to think of a play and then take.
The play and take mechanic is very unique to here, which I like. I think the closest in terms of weird mechanics is possibly Charterstone. Because wasn't there a
Mm.
point in Charterstone where you have like the support? Yeah.
There was a
There
sort
was
of
there was a there
similar.
was a pick and take mechanic also, but not quite the same.
That I think that was the
The little
allies.
yeah, the little friends. Okay, sorry. Spoilers for people who haven't played the Charterstone campaign. Good game. We should talk about that one too. Okay.
Mm.
Um, and I don't know. And then like I kind of have a slight like, uh, I know that Great Western Trail is a completely different game, but I don't know. It sort of has that feel of the build up and the journey and the progression. I know it's not the same. It's not the same, but I guess the feeling I walk away with from playing this is similar to what I feel like
Mm.
in playing Great
Well,
Western
definitely
Trail.
more than Russian railroads.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's because of the map aspect, the journeying, and
Mhm.
and because the level of difficulty really increases as you go higher up from the harbors all the way to the fortresses. Then it's really a bit of an achievement, and that's one of the end game triggers. Like when there's only one
One
fortress
fortress left.
left. Yeah, so it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool, and I like that. So I don't know if that's helpful for you. Like it's the different set of game mechanics as Great Western Trail,
Mhm.
but I feel like it's the same fulfillment. It's the same feels, and hey, that's all I can tell you.
Other tips: don't be afraid to have some of your people die.
plan for them to
It's
die.
odd how you'll be so possessive that you don't want them to die, but that's part of the strategy. Hire the low cost ones that allow you to build up food and the like faster first, and
Then
then
kill
kill
him.
them so you can start playing the greater, more powerful ones.
Or like there are raid specific ones, like this guy gives bonuses only when raiding harbors. Then keep him while you're raiding harbors, and when you think you're raiding your last harbor,
Mhm.
junk him. Then move on. Get the one who helps you with outposts or monasteries or fortresses, and rinse, cycle, repeat as you make your way up. Um, and be very, very careful with your resources. Resources are tight in this game because the main way to get most resources is reading, and that means for certain resources like cows, at least cows and ore, super finite on the board.
Mhm.
um Whatever is sprawled out, that's it, that's the economy. And if you are not able to raid yourself and join in, then you won't have the ore you need to develop your armor, and then if you don't have the armor, then you're wasting up to 6 victory points. So it's a lot of back and forth math there, so you got to be careful. But yeah, so beware of your kind of your economy. And then what's this, don't be afraid to play heroes for powers, the blue spot at the town hall. A lot of times you get very focused with, no, I want him in my army, he's going to join the raiding party. But it's not, it, it may take longer because you're trying to build up stuff. But some of these guys, when you play them for powers, give you very awesome things.
Mhm.
And the town hall is not a space a lot of people use. I will, in my experience, I mean, I'm sure it does get used, but not a lot of people. And so sometimes it's a weird, like, prompting people like, hey, why don't you also use it? But then to do that, they have to get rid of cards. And it's a nice little cycle, puzzle conundrum for you and your fellow players.
So there's mention in Board Game Geek of a solo mode. Nicanor shares that it's a companion app. Board Game Geek mentions in
There is a
one.
physical expansion.
There's a deck. Another one also mentions that there's a paid Android app. Yeah.
Yeah, the solo variant as a card set was released in 2018. It's listed in one of the expansions. It consists of 23 scheme cards, which will basically it's automata because it
Mm.
drives an AI opponent, which is kind of cool. Okay, so yeah,
So Nicanor shares that they use the gatehouse a lot.
gatehouse is for drawing
Yeah,
cards.
we don't.
Yeah, that's like a bit of a. I feel like we get very minimalist in like how many townsfolk we have
We
for
sort
some
of
reason.
race for raids. So the moment we have people, we try raiding and push our luck with the dice rolls. I know some people would rather dig for good cards first before they build their raiding group.
I mean, I started out wanting to be this. Okay, I'll take time and build up my people, but then you see Toby preparing to raid. So then you have to raid. Then it's an arms race. Because if you don't raid, you don't get the resources, and Toby keeps raiding.
Yeah, I try to win by denial, not by getting points. I make sure they can't.
Oh, he meant Town Hall. Okay, yeah, yeah. Then
Not town hall.
I don't know. In the games we played, we don't
We
see it
rarely
super
we
often.
rarely see town hall.
We see
I
very raid
I
focused
usually use
games.
town hall when it's like let everyone lose silver or get a resource from someone because that
Still
ruins people's
provisions from
plans.
everyone. Yeah, see, look at that, look at that. How am I with this person? This is the person who helped me get into modern board gaming by frustrating me.
No, I taught you the value of not giving up.
It taught me the pain of losing repeatedly. That's how we are.
Okay, what else? Art's nice, components are pretty. Cost wise, it's not too much on the expensive side compared to other games we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like you can get the base game, and it's a very solid experience,
Uh,
and with so much replay. And then I guess then depending on what you're looking for, I mean, you could just get Rune Saga for the campaign if you like that feels. So you're playing basically the same game with a little bump up. Okay.
oh, they use town hall to stop people from raiding.
I
It's
don't think
like,
that happens a lot.
I'll take from you a food thing so you can't go out, or yeah, I can get that because you can also take gold.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Okay. Plus points and how it feels nice because it's a tiny heavy box.
Yes, it's
Yes.
super dense. It's like, I mean,
Yes.
did you see it's a 6 panel board that folds into the one,
Mhm.
and then fits this small size. It is brilliant how they have lived with this size of box across so many expansions. Kudos, big kudos to the design team for this.
Any last tactical suggestions or what?
Um, I think over time you will develop a more instinctive feel for the trade-offs between the colors of workers you have.
Mhm.
I end up mapping out activities that way, that I'm going to raid. I know I'm gonna get this. When I come back, I'm gonna need this. Then I can drop. So there's kind of a flow that you
Mhm.
can do once the raids start, and the raids are helpful because they're predictable in the sense that you clearly know what color worker you're gonna get, and then even looking at the what uh what because you can see the reward, including whether or not skulls are included, then it really helps you map out actions. Unless Toby gets the spot first.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's all a good puzzle.
Mhm.
So I guess my only other last thing just really is to pay attention to everybody's resources, which is a hard thing to say, I know, but ultimately,
It's open
there's
information.
it's open information. Nothing is hidden. Everything is out there. So pay attention to what's there, because resources inform actions.
Mm.
So if they have lots of ore, they're most likely going to upgrade at the upgrade their armor.
Mhm.
If they have lots of provisions, they are preparing to raid further.
Yeah.
I
So yeah,
mean, yeah.
Nicanor shares a similar tip. His tip is to watch your opponents and what they need so you can kind of predict where they'll place and you can accordingly plan your take action. Yes, I totally agree. I would
Look at the way
also
Toby totally agrees.
I would also add that just because you haven't started raiding doesn't mean you're behind. The points of the first few raids are nothing compared to the later raids. So it pays to let people, they're rushing the start with the harbor and the outposts, but then you build up an army with enough food to start attacking one of the fortresses or something. Because those big give really big points. And again, keep in mind, if you fail that raid and fail to get the points, you're still denying them that.
Look at that. Look at that. See,
What?
point denial is a
What?
strategy.
Point denial is a valid strategy, and it's far nicer than take that. When you move a card and like throw everything away. What?
But Toby can do both. He just talked about he likes the cards that take stuff from other people.
Well,
So
in this game, it's like one token lang, or one money from everyone. It's not like in
Nah, nah, nah,
Lords
nah,
of
nah.
Waterdeep where it's this building is mine. You're like what?
So much fun. Okay.
Yeah, so I guess that's it. And if you do play this game, we tend to play the soundtrack to
Vikings, the
Vikings,
TV show,
yeah,
works.
and the like, because it gives you a nice feel like you're playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's it. That is Raiders of the North Sea. This is us talking about this game.
And find out if we actually support the Kickstarter in the last few hours. No, I'm kidding. I
It's
don't
so
know.
much money. We're not even paid to do the show yet.
Yeah, but it's the way to get everything. I love Kickstarters that give you everything.
As always, if you have other games you'd like us to cover, if we have a copy, if we've played it, we will. But thank you for joining tonight. And that's all we have for this episode.
Yeah, so if you want to suggest those games, go to the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. We do our best to try to cycle in topics, but again, it helps if we've actually played the game to talk about it. There are a few game requests that, I have no idea what these are. We just haven't played them.
Mm.
Okay. You can follow us on Twitter, AltoBinoShade, RG
You
Suniko.
can also check out our blog, thedaypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and let us know what are your favorite townsfolk in this game, or what's your go-to strategy, and how will we beat Toby next time.
not always about beating me. I'm not always winning. Again, we've looked at our board game geek numbers
And Toby still has one more games than I have.
by like 2%.
Grr.
But you won our last Dune Imperial games, two of them. So that now tips it back in your favor.
No, it doesn't. All right. Then be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride.
Pride.
Good night, everyone.